There are three modes of operation when it comes to VTP: client, server, and transparent. Now, I have not touched my configuration with regards to VTP, so let's take a look at what we're running. Now, the command to view the generic VTP information is show VTP status. By the way, the formatting that you might see in your own chassis might be a little bit different if you're running older code. I'm running new code, fresh code 15.0 or later, and so that we see, yes, it's organized a little bit differently. What I have is no domain name. We would call this null, by the way. That's an important distinction. And I don't have anything going on. It also tells me that my operating mode is server. That's an important point. So an unconfigured switch in Cisco is a server. Now, even 2960s would operate in this way, and that means, and that's why I'm able to modify VLANs right now, as I'm in server mode, okay? If I were in client mode, I wouldn't be able to do that. But I'm really not participating in VTP, so to speak, because I haven't set a domain yet. Now let's talk about the way that these modes interact. Servers permit full control over the domain. When you make a change in an active VTP domain, those changes get propagated down to the rest of the switches that are connected via trunks. And because we often just connect our switch block together over trunks, this constrains a VTP domain to our switch block. So if we have multiple switch blocks, then we would have multiple VTP domains. If you're a server, you will listen to other servers. That's what this means. Synchronizes VLAN configuration says that upon receipt, if I'm a server, upon receipt, if I get an update from another switch, let's say I add a switch here, and that switch is a server in terms of VTP. If I make a change on that server, one server can talk to another server. Absolutely. Absolutely. We will adapt to that, which is an important distinction, okay? Definitely an important distinction. So, a lot of people think that you can only have one server in a VTP domain. That is not the case. You can have multiple servers. Generally, the ideal scenario is that the two switches in your distribution layer serve as the servers. And your access layer should be changed over to client mode operation. That is, if you use this protocol. I want to preface that, if you use this protocol. Client mode operation is it is a very dumbed down operation for the switch. If you have your switch in client mode, you cannot manipulate the VLAN database. So let's say, and actually I'm going to go to ASW1. That would be a little bit more appropriate, wouldn't it? I'll do VTP mode client. Used to be we didn't have the ability to turn this off. We do now. But I say VTP mode client. Okay? Now, let's say I want to add some VLANs. 100 through 200. Oh, I can't do it. Why? Because I'm in client mode, which I can confirm with show VTP status, just in case we want to look at that ahead of time. So, client mode operation does not allow you to touch the VLAN database for your switch block, but it serves as a pass-through. So if I get an update for my domain, I will pass that through to my neighbor over the trunk links. And we will adapt to what we hear. We will adapt to what we hear. Now, transparent is the last modality for this, and it's important to understand that transparent mode means local VLAN administration. That does not mean that VLANs don't work, that VLANs are somehow different. The VLANs that you get with all three of these modes are the same kinds of VLANs. They're VLANs. It's the definition is local. So that means if we have our typical switch block, which would be 2 distribution layer switches and 2 access layer switches that had the mess of connectivity between them, we would have to manage the VLAN definition by ourselves. We would have to log into DSW1, add the VLANs there. Log into DSW2, add the VLANs there. Go to ASW1 and ASW2, add the VLANs there. That's what this means. You change the VLANs, but you're only affecting that one device. So that means more administration is necessary. The changes are localized. They are not communicated. Even though you can have a domain name specified, you will not propagate the changes that are made on a transparent switch to other switches. And it doesn't synchronize. If you talk to 10 Cisco admins that are good at switching, all 10 might tell you to use transparent mode. I'm not even going to say 9 out of 10. All 10 might say this. You'd have to probably pull 100 admins, and they might tell you client and server. This is such an unpopular protocol right now. It's great when you know how to use it properly. Now, I will say that that the reason for running it in transparent mode is this essentially turns it off. There is a command to turn off VTP, but this, for all intents and purposes, disables VTP. It is preferred by many, by most, to do local VLAN administration. Nevertheless, you have to understand this interaction. So, to go over it again, server advertises out, it lets you make changes, clients listen in, and transparent are isolated. Know the meaning of these 3 roles. One extra thing is I'd want you to understand that our database is stored in Flash. If I do a show Flash, the VLAN.dat file is the VLAN database. And if you want to purge information, that's where you do it. If you want to see, well, if you're looking for the VLANs that are configured, you don't see them in the running config on a client or a server. The reason why is they're stored in a separate file, not the running config, but in this VLAN.dat file. And if you want to get rid of it, by the way, you do a delete flash VLAN.dat, and then you could do a reload. And you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that on all of the devices. Oop, I'm going to go back. It asked me to confirm. I forgot. One extra enter key. We'll let that device reload. But it's important to understand how these modes operate and how you manage your VLANs. The choice is up to you and your site and your corporation or organization. Do you want to use VTP? If the answer is yes, figure out the right combination of servers and client mode switches.